rockets that pierce the edge of space, weapons that arrive faster than sound, a machine that killed more people building it than using it. June 20th, 1944. An object designated MW 18014 lifts from a Baltic island and crosses 100 kilometers altitude. First human-made object in space. The world doesn't care because it's a weapon. September 8th, same year, 1840 hours. Staveley Road, Chiswick, London. 3 dead. 63-year-old Ada Harrison, 3-year-old Rosemary Clark in her cot, sapper Bernard Browning on leave. Crater, 9 meters wide. No warning. No sound until after impact. The V2 rocket, Aggregate 4, struck from the edge of space and nobody could stop it. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum's Michael Neufeld's peer-reviewed publication, The Rocket and the Reich, published June 2020, and recent archaeological discoveries documented in Archaeology News online magazine from December 15, 2025, where V2 fragments, including a nearly complete ballistic cone, were excavated at the Blizna test site in Poland. Now back to the information. Late 1932, German Army notices his graduate work on liquid fuel rockets at Berlin Technical University. Captain Walter Dornberger sees potential, not for space, for artillery. 1933, von Braun drops from public view, Army contract. Kummersdorf proving ground south of Berlin, secret facility, start building. Hans von Braun specifications. 1-ton payload, range 276 kilometers, dispersion 3 to 5 kilometers, must fit on standard road vehicles. Von Braun and Walter Riedel project a 25,000 kilogram thrust engine, bigger than anything attempted. The A3 prototype in July 1936 fails aerodynamic testing, stability problems, control system failures. 3 test launches in December 1937 at Greifswalder Oie Island. All 3 crash within seconds. Parachute deploys, rocket tumbles, explosion. Back to drawing boards. By 1937, von Braun specifies A4 performance parameters. Engine design begins. Problem: scaling up from 1,500 kilogram thrust A3 engine to 25,000 kilogram thrust required for A4 creates combustion instability. 7 years of trial and error ahead. Interim solution: 18 separate combustion chambers feeding 1 mixing chamber. Complex, heavy, inefficient, but it works. Fuel: 75% ethanol, 25% water mixture. Beast-off: water reduces flame temperature, turns to steam, adds thrust. Oxidizer: liquid oxygen, aced-off, stored at minus 183 degrees Celsius. Turbopump spins at 4,000 RPM, forces 125 liters per second into combustion chamber. Temperature inside hits 2,820 degrees Celsius. Thrust starts at 8 tons. 3 seconds, watch for problems. Thrust climbs to 25 tons, 13.5-ton rocket lifts. Space travel. They're not building transportation, they're building vengeance. Adolf Hitler isn't impressed initially. Artillery shell with longer range and much higher cost. But Germany is losing. Allied bombing intensifies. Hitler needs wonder weapons to sustain morale. Early September 1943, von Braun promises the Long-Range Bombardment Commission that A4 development is practically complete. Lie. By mid-1944, complete parts list still doesn't exist. Hitler authorizes mass production anyway. Designation changes. Aggregate 4 becomes Vergeltungswaffe 2. Vengeance, Weapon 2, Phi 2. 735 dead, including Chief Propulsion Engineer Walter Thiel and his family. Heavy damage. Production threatened. Within days, decision made. Move production underground. Hitler orders it. SS General Hans Kammler, who supervised Auschwitz gas chamber construction, gets the job. Old mine. Strategic storage for fuel and chemicals. Orders: clear it, expand it, convert 2 parallel tunnels into factory. Prisoners live inside while excavating. No barracks. Sleeping tunnels with bunk beds and straw. Barrels cut in half for toilets. Blasting continues day and night. Dust everywhere. Starvation rations. Diarrhea. Typhoid. Guards shoot prisoners who can't keep up. By end of winter 1944, 3,000 prisoners dead. Another 3,000 sick, shipped to other camps to die. SS installs crematorium because bodies pile up too fast. Rest, slave labor, Mittelbau Dora concentration camp. Production goal: 900 V2s per month. Never achieved. Peak was 686 in December 1944. Quality suffers. Prisoners sabotage when possible. Loose screws, bad welds, incomplete circuits. Some urinate on electrical components. Rockets fail. November 1944. Dieter Grau investigates from Peenemünde. Finds sabotage evidence. Report to Arthur Rudolph, technical production chief. November 4th. Production stops. Department chiefs and SS gather prisoners in Hall 2, main assembly tunnel. 12 men, hands tied behind backs, timber pieces in mouths, ropes around necks, overhead cranes slowly hoist them, strangling, message sent. Historian Michael Neufeld calculated minimum 10,000 deaths from V2 program alone at Mittelbau-Dora, published in his 1995 book The Rocket and the Reich, updated in his June 20th, 2020. Smithsonian article, Wonder Weapons and Slave Labor. Overall Mittelbau camp system, 20,000 to 25,000 dead out of 60,000 imprisoned. BBC 2011 documentary reports 12,000 total laborers and concentration camp prisoners died building V2s. Another 10,000 estimated from V2 work at other sites, including Peenemünde. So at least 20,000 dead building the weapon. Compare. V2 attacks killed approximately 9,000 Allied civilians and military personnel. Unique weapon. Twice as many died, making it as being hit by it. He visits Mittelwerk at least 10 to 15 times by his own admission, including extended stay during hellish construction period fall 1943. August, September, October. French resistance leader Jean Michel, arrested and sent there, describes his first day starting mid-October. The first day is terrifying. The capos and SS drive us on at an infernal speed, shouting and raining blows down on us, threatening us with execution. Von Braun walks these tunnels, SS officer, Sturmbannführer rank, makes decisions about slave labor use. Turbopump at 4,000 RPM forces, fuel and oxidizer at 125 liters per second into combustion chamber. Powered flight. Graphite vanes and exhaust steer. Fins stabilize. 60 seconds. Engine cuts. Ballistic trajectory. 176 kilometers apogee. 109 miles. Crosses Kármán line at 100 kilometers altitude. Edge of space. First human-made object there. Fact lost in darkness of war. Rocket returns. Impacts Baltic Sea. Suborbital spaceflight. Later test same series exceeds this. 189 kilometers. Date unknown because scientists don't record precisely during this phase. War accelerates. Leading edge swept 60 degrees to shoulder, then 87 degrees. Small guide vane at each fin tip, other vanes and engine exhaust. Launch weight 12,650 kilograms. Warhead 1,000 kilograms. Amatol explosive. High velocity steel fragments. Empty weight 4,114 kilograms without fuel. Speed at burnout 5,760 kilometers per hour. Peak altitude for operational range varies. 88 to 128 kilometers depending on target distance. Maximum range, 320 kilometers. Impact velocity, 2,880 kilometers per hour. Mach 2.35. Supersonic, silent approach, no warning, no. Radio beam cutoff system, 20% of operational launches use it. More accurate than accelerometer alone. Lateral dispersion from wind during ascent. Key accuracy problem. Both systems field tested. Radio superior. 4 graphite rudders and vanes and exhaust adjust trajectory during powered flight. 65 seconds control window. After burnout, pure ballistic trajectory. No control. Program motor holds inclination angle during burn. Dispersion at range, 2 to 3 kilometers from aim point. Inaccurate. Area weapon, not precision. Facilities overrun. October 19th, 1943. War contract number 0011-5. 565/43, issued to Mittelwerk GmbH by General Emil Lieb, Army Weapons Office. Contract for 12,000 A4s at 40,000 Reichsmarks each. Never fulfilled. Allied advances prevent it. Both crash soon after launch. September 8th, single rocket launched at Paris. Hits near Port d'Italie. Modest damage. Same day, 1837 hours. Lehr- und Versuchsbatterie, training and experimental battery, Gruppe Nord, battery 2/485. Launch site, Leisterlaan and Schouweg Crossroads, Wassenaar suburb. The Hague, Netherlands. Target, London. Distance 200 miles. Flight time approximately 5 minutes. 1840 hours, 52 seconds. Staveley Road, Chiswick. Opposite number 5. Warhead detonates. Crater 6.1 meters deep, 9 meters diameter across road, verges, pavements. Gas mains destroyed. Water mains destroyed. 11 houses demolished. 550 damaged. 3 dead. 22 injured. Rosemary Clark, 3 years old and caught, probably suffocated by blast overpressure. Sapper Bernard Browning, Royal Engineers on leave, walking to Chiswick Station to visit girlfriend, caught in open. 3 names. First operational V2 casualties. Home Secretary Herbert Morrison and MP Ellen Wilkinson arrive within 2 hours. Government officials swarm site. Residents told. Gas main exploded. Cover story. British public not fooled. Sardonically call them flying gas mains. New York Times blows story September 12th, but most Britons still don't officially know. Pretense maintained until November 10th, when Winston Churchill admits rocket attacks to Parliament after Hitler announces weapon use November 8th. Over next 6 months, 1,358 V2s hit London through March 27th, 1945. Final London, V2 lands Kent. March 29th, last enemy action on British soil. V1 hits Hertfordshire Field. Attacks spread, Antwerp primary target. September 1944 to March 1945. Port critical for Allied logistics. 2,342 V weapons, mostly V2s, fall within 10-mile radius of Antwerp. November 27, 1944. 10-year square, Antwerp. British military convoy passing, V2 strikes. 126 dead, including 26 Allied soldiers. November the 25th, 1944. Woolworths, New Cross Road, London. V2 explodes. 168 dead. 121 seriously injured. Worst single V2 incident. Liège in Belgium also targeted. 3,225 total operational launches. 9,000 approximate deaths. Property damage? Extensive. 20,000 houses daily damaged in London at campaign height, creating massive housing crisis, southeast England, late 1944, early 1945. General Frederick Alfred Pyle, Anti-Aircraft Command, studies problem, proposes barrage fire in rocket's path with advanced trajectory prediction. Early estimates, 320,000 shells per rocket needed, impractical. September 1944, jamming attempts begin based on false belief V2s use radio guidance. Ground-based jammers, air-based jammers flying over UK. October, group sent to jam during launch. By December, clear these efforts achieve nothing. Jamming stops, no countermeasure works. Rocket travels 5 times speed of sound. Arrives before its sound, no interception possible. Only solution, bomb launch sites, bomb factories, bomb transport. Limited effectiveness, mobile launchers move. Underground factories immune to bombing. Early A4s reach 90 kilometers altitude, but 70% fail due to design faults. Forward hull section structural failure common in mid-flight. One A4 suffers pogo oscillations during ascent, veers 90 degrees off course, spirals back into launch pit. 4 launch troops killed on site. Mid-1944, airburst problem during re-entry, Luftverleger. Through March 1944, Blizna launch site in Poland, only 4 of 26 successful launches satisfactorily reach Sarnaki target area. Most break apart on re-entry. German developers initially suspect excessive alcohol tank pressure, cause eludes them 5 months. April 1944, still not determined. General Rossmann recommends stationing observers in target area. May or June, Dornberger and von Braun set camp at Poland Target Zone Center. August 30th, SS Mortar Battery 500 ordered begin test launches of 80 rockets with tin trousers, reinforcement sleeve protecting forward hull section. Tests confirm tin trousers prevent airburst. British recover Beckabo rocket, crashed Sweden June 13th, 1944. 2 complete test vehicles in Allied hands before operational campaign begins. Analysis reveals no radio receiver despite Allied belief. Aerodynamic data, fuel systems, guidance components examined. Location sketches of manufacturing facilities, including Peenemünde, transmitted to Allied command. Information vital for Operation Crossbow bombing and Operation Hydra. Most resistance members eventually captured by Gestapo. Most executed. Death march attempted days before to Bergen-Belsen. Most prisoners die during march or shortly after arrival. U.S. Army investigates, collects intelligence, film evidence, interviews survivors. Mittelwerk plant photographed extensively. Equipment cataloged. Scientists and V2 hardware. Priority targets for both American and Soviet forces. Code name from Technique. Folders marked with paperclip. Identify specialists accepted. Joint intelligence objectives. Agency coordinates. Goal: acquire German intellectual resources for U.S. arsenal. Deny them to Soviets. Soviet Union offers strong monetary and career inducements to lure scientists. France also recruiting. No questions asked by Soviets. U.S. faces dilemma. Adhere to stated anti-Nazi policy and lose every noteworthy German scientist? Or compromise? Werner, von Braun, Erich Neubert, Theodor Poppel, William Schulze, Eberhard Rees, Wilhelm Jungert, Walter Schwedetzky. Designated War Department Special Employees. Transferred to Fort Bliss, Texas, and White Sands Proving Ground, New Mexico for rocket testing. By 1946, most team arrived. Eventually 130 Paperclip members in von Braun group. Total Operation Paperclip, 1,600 specialists between May 1945 and December 1952. Approximately half early Paperclip specialists were Nazi party members, many opportunistically. Minority true believers with significant party records or SS-SA membership. Von Braun, party member and SS Sturmbannführer, photographed with Heinrich Himmler, accused of slave labor use, participation documented, no prosecution, Cold War urgency overrides. September 3, 1946, top secret directive approved by Truman authorizes 1,000 scientists brought to U.S. by military. Families follow. Salaries comparable to American positions, approximately $10,000 annually. Security restrictions relaxed, but remain. Background checks discover unacceptable histories. Deportation to Germany. Few deported. Concentration camp, Kapos convicted. 3 V2 scientists implicated. 2 after trial, all exonerated of Nazi war crimes at Mittelwerk. Georg Ricke, Mittelwerk general manager, sent back to Germany 1947 for trial. Only paperclip scientists prosecuted. Arthur Rudolph, technical director overseeing production, signs sabotage reports leading to 12 hangings. November 1944. No prosecution. Later becomes Saturn V program director at NASA. June 1945. U.S. Army evacuates per JCS Directive 1067/14. Parts, documents, blueprints for A-9, A-10 intercontinental missile left for Soviets. Red Army occupies Mittelwerk, July 5, 1945. Both tunnel entrances demolished mid-1948 by Soviets. First V-2 launch from White Sands Launch Complex 33. Captured rockets refurbished by German team and General Electric personnel. 75 V-2s made available for atmospheric and solar investigation. Sounding rocket program. Warhead replaced with instrumentation packages averaging 540 kilograms. Scientific instruments in nose cone, control compartment between fuel tanks, on fins and skin. Trajectory designed for 160 kilometers altitude, 48 kilometers horizontal range. Engine burns 59.8 seconds. Impact velocity reduced by inducing structural failure during atmospheric re-entry. Recoverable instruments survive. Telemetry transmits readings during flight. Parachute systems tested. V-2 upper air rocket. Number 13 carries 35mm DeVry Corporation camera. Frame every 1.5 seconds. Altitude 104.6 kilometers. 180 seconds flight time. First photograph of Earth from 65 miles altitude. Curvature visible. December 17th, 1946. First night V-2 flight. Explosive charges generate artificial meteors for photographic observation. James Van Allen installs experiment package. Charges don't fire. February 20th, 1947. Blossom 1, first biological payload. Series tests ejecting canister with parachute for recovery. Eventually, fruit flies, seeds, various primates launched to study cosmic ray effects and G-forces. Alabama, designated Ordnance Rocket Center for Rocket Research and Development. Team grows. Focus, nuclear-armed ballistic missiles. Von Braun advocates spaceflight publicly in magazines and TV during spare time. October 1957, Sputnik launches. Von Braun's group helps launch first U.S. satellite Explorer 1. January 31st, 1958. Von Braun team, now 1,000 strong, mostly native-born Americans. Few remaining Germans naturalized 1954 to 1955. 118 German migrants from Peenemünde through Paperclip form development team core with American engineers. Saturn rocket development begins. Program that puts Americans on Moon 1969. July 16th, 1969. Apollo 11 launches on Saturn V. Engine development traces directly to V-2. Turbopump design evolved. Fuel injection systems refined. Thrust chamber cooling improved. American engineers tore apart V-2 engines, designed improvements. Majority of U.S. launch vehicles inherit V-2 engine heritage. Instead, NASA Distinguished Service Medal. Department of Defense Distinguished Civilian Service Award. Goddard Astronautics Award. Space Camp Hall of Fame. International Space Hall of Fame. Lauded in lifetime as founding father of space travel. 4 former Nazis received NASA Distinguished Service Medal, von Braun among them. Human cost minimized. V-2 becomes foundation of space age. Every liquid fuel rocket since inherits something from Aggregate 4. Soviet R-7 Semyorka that launches Sputnik. Scaled V-2 design. American Redstone, Jupiter, Thor missiles, V-2 descendants. Saturn rockets, evolved lineage. Modern SpaceX Merlin engines, turbopump concepts trace back. Chinese, European, Indian, Japanese space programs, all build on principles established at Peenemünde and perfected at Mittelwerk. Wonder Weapon became Horror Weapon, space exploration born from vengeance. Discoveries from area that played critical role in V-2 development after Operation Hydra damaged Peenemünde. Launches at Blizna between 1943 and 1944. Site later became most closely monitored by Polish underground intelligence. Physical evidence of testing program emerging 81 years later from Polish soil. 1.65 meters wide, 12,650 kilograms at launch, 1,000 kilograms warhead, 320 kilometers range, 5,760 kilometers per hour velocity, Mach 4.7, 25,000 kilograms thrust, 65 seconds burn time, 4,000 RPM turbopump, 125 liters per second fuel flow, 2,820 degrees Celsius combustion temperature, numbers that changed warfare, numbers that enabled spaceflight, numbers written in blood. Physical remnants of 20,000 deaths. 1970. Small exhibition arranged in old crematory building. Remember at least 20,000 prisoners who died. Actual number likely higher. Accounting of manufacturing-related deaths outside Dora, never attempted comprehensively. Could reach another 10,000. Royal Engineers Museum, Chatham. Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, Washington, D.C. Smithsonian Udvar-Hazy Center. Deutsches Museum, Munich. German Museum of Technology, Berlin. Musée de l'Armée, Paris. Australian War Memorial, Canberra. Dozens more in collections globally. Tourist attractions now. School field trips. Engineering marvels. Children marvel at rocket that crossed space edge. Few exhibits emphasize slave labor. Few mention 20,000 production deaths. Technical triumph displayed. Human cost footnoted. Building collapses. Glass shatters. Then double crack of sound barrier overtaking slower pressure wave. Survivors describe sudden destruction without approach sound. Flying glass. Falling masonry. Then roar that vibrates bones. Psychological impact disputed. Historian Michael Neufeld argues lack of noise meant less terror than V-1 buzz bomb. Others disagree. American pilot William Liscombe Borden, November 1944, sees V-2 in flight returning from night mission over Holland. Describes it resembling meteor, streaming red sparks, whizzing past as though aircraft motionless. Becomes convinced only matter of time until rockets expose United States to direct transoceanic attack. Prophetic. Cold War arms race validates fear. ICBMs, nuclear warheads, mad doctrine. All trace lineage to Aggregate 4 crossing Kármán Line June 20th, 1944. Every problem eventually solved through trial and error. 7 years from A4 specification to operational deployment. Compare modern missile development, decades. V-2 achieved in wartime conditions with slide rules and mechanical computers. No digital systems, no computer simulations. Physical tests only, raw engineering, deadly determination. 42 partially survives. Concrete foundation remains. Historical marker placed. Museums built at site. Tourists walk where first space-capable rocket lifted. Baltic waves crash nearby. Greifswalder Oi Island, where MW18014 launched. Now Seabird Reserve. Ravens. Hooded crows. Migratory songbirds. Nature reclaims launch sites. History fades into landscape. 81 years distant. Memory requires effort. 5,946 V-2s produced. 3,225 launched operationally. 1,358 hit London. 2,342 hit Antwerp and surrounding 10-mile radius. Hundreds hit Liège. Others hit Paris, Brussels, Norwich, Ipswich, various targets. 9,000 approximate deaths from attacks. 20,000 to 30,000 deaths from production. Ratio unprecedented. Weapon that killed more in creation than deployment. Moral calculation impossible. Technical achievement undeniable. Ethical compromise permanent. Hero story preserved. German rocket team becomes American space pioneers. Past sanitized, future celebrated. Truth complicated. Reusable rockets imagined at Peenemünde, achieved 75 years later. Information panel recounts details. The first V-2 rocket on London fell here 8 September 1944, killing 3. Front panel. In memory of all V-2 attack victims. Brentford and Chiswick Local History Society. Battlefields Trust. Same day. Wassenaar, Netherlands. Unveils memorial at launch site. Burgomaster of Wassenaar and British ambassador participate. 2 communities remember. Launch site and impact site. Perpetrator location and victim location. Acknowledgement without reconciliation. History without resolution. Allied air patrols sometimes catch preparations. British analysis concludes conventional bombers dropping same explosive tonnage would kill more at fraction of cost. American analysis similar. Soviet analysis focuses on technical capabilities for adaptation. Different conclusions based on different priorities. Western powers see expensive failure. Soviets see future potential. Both correct. Militarily failed, technically succeeded. Foundation for Cold War arsenals. History remembers technical triumph. Space age, moon landing, satellite communications, GPS navigation, weather forecasting, Earth observation, all enabled by liquid fuel rockets descended from Aggregate 4. Civilian benefits, immense. Scientific advancement, extraordinary. Cost, 20,000 slave deaths, 9,000 attack deaths. Moral compromises that echo through decades. Progress built on atrocity. Achievement shadowed by horror. No clean narrative exists. Remaining scientists build vengeance weapon using concentration camp slaves. Irony sharp, barbarism and sophistication combined. Technical excellence serving genocidal regime. Cognitive dissonance persists. European Space Agency through French and British V-2 analysis. Chinese program through Soviet assistance that traces to German technology. Japanese program through post-war technical publications. Every spacefaring nation stands on foundation built at Peenemünde and Middelburg. Foundation built with corpses. White clouds below. Horizon curves gently. First time humans see home from space. Image changes perspective. Fragility visible. Interconnectedness apparent. Planet unified in single frame. V-2 sounding rocket achieves what visionaries imagined. Scientific instrument carrier instead of warhead carrier. Same vehicle, different purpose. Transformation from weapon to tool. Redemption attempted. Absolution uncertain. 14.036 meters of metal, propellant, guidance system, and explosive crosses from brutality to wonder. Technology neutral. Application determines morality. V2 killed. V2 enabled space exploration. Both true simultaneously. No escaping paradox. No resolving contradiction. Accept complexity or reject entirely. Nuance required. Simplification fails. Fragments still emerging from Polish soil. Injectors. Turbopump pieces. Ballistic cone. Physical evidence of testing program. Underground. Forever eventually becomes accessible. Archaeology reveals what documentation omits. Hardware doesn't lie. Metal remembers stress. Welds show quality. Components preserve manufacturing methods. Material evidence confirms and contradicts written accounts. Truth exists in artifacts when memories fade and records conflict. Accepting vulnerability, continuing despite terror. British population endures, repairs damage, buries dead, continues. Resilience under pressure, determination sustaining hope. Reverse engineer innovations, identify improvements. Documentation accelerates post-war rocket development by years. Knowledge transfer through captured paperwork supplements, hardware acquisition, and scientist recruitment. Three-pronged strategy, hardware, documentation, personnel, rebuilds German rocket program under American and Soviet flags. 4,000 RPM pumping cryogenic liquids without cavitation requires precision. German solution, steam turbine powered by decomposing hydrogen peroxide. Concept adopted by every subsequent rocket program. Modern turbopumps spin faster, pump more, but fundamental design traces to V2. System works, but accuracy limited. Modern systems employ same principle. Measure deviation, apply correction. V2 proved concept viable. Launch acceleration 6G maximum. 14-meter aluminum airframe withstands stress while remaining light. Solution, stressed skin construction. Modern rockets employ same approach. Personal belongings mixed with rubble. Lives disrupted instantly. Community traumatized. Recovery begins immediately. British resilience demonstrated. Within hours, rubble cleared from road. Utilities assessed, gas and water shut off. Structural engineers evaluate remaining houses, some condemned, others repairable. Life continues around disaster, normalcy restored incrementally, human adaptability remarkable. 5,946 produced, 3,225 launched, approximately 9,000 killed by attacks, 20,000 to 30,000 killed during production, 1,721 captured or incomplete. Unknown number destroyed in bombing raids before deployment. Unknown number failed during launch or flight. Unknown number impacted harmlessly in open areas or sea. Statistical accounting impossible without complete records. Estimates based on partial documentation and survivor testimony. Truth approximate. Precision lost to chaos of war's end. V2, simultaneously greatest engineering achievement and worst war crime. Space exploration's foundation and slave labor's product. Future enabler and past shame. Complexity resists reduction. History refuses simplicity. 7 years engineering, 19 months deployment, minimal strategic impact. Cost-benefit analysis devastating. Resources better allocated to conventional weapons production. Hitler's obsession with wonder weapons diverted industrial capacity from practical needs. Desperation, thinking, and declining power. Magic bullet fantasy overriding rational strategy. Military historians universal in assessment. V2 strategically pointless. Technical historians disagree. V2 proved ballistic missiles viable. Demonstrated liquid fuel rocket operational feasibility. Validated guidance system concepts, established manufacturing processes, created technical foundation for space age. Military failure, technical success, short-term loss, long-term gain. Depends whether evaluating 1945 or 2025. Immediate context versus historical perspective. Both valid. Different timescales, different conclusions. Space insufficient, recognition without enumeration, respect through simplification, single source unreliable, multiple sources triangulate accuracy. Methodology standard but necessary. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. V2's story, extraordinary. Evidence accumulates accordingly. Museum collections, archives, personal papers, academic studies, popular histories, documentary films, decades of research compounding, foundation solid. Direct memory fading. Second-order memory, children of survivors, primary source becoming. Third-order memory, grandchildren hearing stories, approaching. Historical memory transitions from lived experience to transmitted knowledge to academic study. Process inevitable. Distance increases, immediacy decreases, detail lost. Significance maintained through conscious effort. Forgetting easy, remembering work. History requires stewardship. Aggregat 4, Vergeltungswaffe. 2, V2, MW 18014. Multiple designations. Single technological lineage. Peenemünde to Mittelwerk to White Sands to Huntsville to Moon. Direct line, clear causation, traceable evolution. First ballistic missile becomes foundation for space exploration. Vengeance weapon transforms into scientific instrument. Destruction technology enables discovery. Progress built atop tragedy. Truth uncomfortable. History complex. Reality messy. October 24, 1946, Earth photographed from space. July 1960, NASA Marshall Center established. July 16, 1969, Apollo 11 launches. Timeline clear, progression evident, causation established. V2 to moon landing. 25 years, one generation, technical evolution, moral reckoning deferred. Human-made object reaches beyond atmosphere. Moment passes unmarked during war, significance recognized later. Kármán line definition establishes 100 kilometers boundary between atmosphere and space after war. Fédération Aéronautique, International Standardises. MW 18014 retroactively becomes first space crossing object. History written backward. Significance applied retrospectively. Achievement recognized belatedly. Context changes evaluation. Wartime test becomes historic spaceflight. Framing matters. Archaeology confirms documentation. Hardware validates historical accounts. Material proof supplements written records. Truth solid. Facts established. Debate closed on specific points. Questions remain on broader issues. Microcertainty, macro complexity. Detail precise, meaning contested. Both conditions persist. Resolution partial. Understanding incomplete. Knowledge approximate. Truth asymptotic. Approach continues. Absolute unreachable. 29,000 approximate deaths total. 9,000 from attacks. 20,000 from production. Calculation rough. Sources vary. Estimates range. Precision impossible. War records incomplete. Camp documentation destroyed. Survivors unreliable after trauma. Counting impossible during chaos. Reconstruction afterward approximate. History accepts uncertainty. Numbers matter less than magnitude. Thousands dead. Scale catastrophic. Exact figure less important than understanding scope. Horror quantified imprecisely but adequately. Paradox persistent. Resolution impossible. Acceptance required. Complexity acknowledged. Simplification rejected. Truth preserved through detail. Memory maintained through effort. History continues through study. Rosemary Clark. Sapper Bernard Browning. Staveley Road residents and descendants remember specifically. Wider world remembers generally. Memorial serves both. Local grief and universal acknowledgement. Stone stands. Information panel explains. Cherry trees planted. Wassenaar counterpart memorial erected. Two communities connected by violence acknowledge shared history. No reconciliation claims made. Recognition sufficient. Respect offered. Memory preserved. Data and narrative combined. History told completely only through both. History demands complexity. Truth requires nuance. Justice seeks accountability. Progress continues regardless. Time passes. Memory fades. Documents persist. Artifacts surface. Study continues. Understanding deepens. Questions multiply. Answers approximate. Knowledge accumulates. Certainty eludes. History never concludes. Only pauses between investigations. New evidence emerges. Reinterpretation begins. Cycle continues. German rocket fragments. 81 years buried, now surfaced. Past becomes present again. History alive through archaeology. Technology preserved underground. Retrieved, analyzed, displayed, studied. Teaching again, even in pieces. Especially in pieces. Broken hardware reveals truth, whole machines conceal. Fractures expose internal workings. Damage demonstrates forces encountered. Fragments tell stories. Complete rockets hide. Evidence speaks. History listens. Understanding grows. One excavation, one fragment, one truth at a time. Accumulation builds knowledge. Study continues, always.